Hey everybody, it's Dmitry with Surg Supply, and today I will be attempting a rounded cabinet. Let's dig right in. So this is a bit of a new series I'm going to try out. The whole purpose behind Dmitriy Attempts is that I, myself, without all the fancy equipment and tools, I'm going to try to do stuff that the average DIYer might have to do at home without a CNC, without an edge bander, without industrial equipment, and without professional carpenters on payroll to get the job done. So that being said, this is going to be a little rough and rowdy. I guess maybe a little rougher around the edges than you might be used to seeing, but I think it's important to show the process and ultimately help equip DIYers if they want to take on something crazy like this. Rounded cabinets are kind of our bread and butter here. We started doing them about 6 years ago and they've saved a lot of scalps since. It's kind of an art form, let me put it that way. It's very difficult. There's a lot of tooling that needs to happen, and you got to have the exact right spacing, depth, so on and so forth. And that's all good and well if you have a CNC machine sitting around, but what if you don't? And today, that's what we're going to attempt. So we are going to maybe not build a rounded overhead cabinet, but we're going to focus on the kerf cutting process. I'm going to grab something real quick to show you guys a little bit more about what kerf cutting is and how it works. So if you're not a carpenter, you don't work a lot with wood, or maybe you just don't spend enough time on YouTube, you may not know what kerf cutting is. Kerf cutting is a process where you take a lot of cuts and you provide relief so that things can bend easier. And I've got a piece here. This is a Van Speed capsule that's made out of unfinished maple, and this has been kerf cut on a CNC. So come on in a little closer. Let me show you how this works. There's a few basic elements to this. Number one, you have the actual cuts themselves that need to be pretty consistent, and that actually leaves this frame a little bit flimsy. Now it's braced up right now, so it's hard to tell, but the second element that's really critical here is actually a frame, something to hold this baby rigid. So for trim rings, we have like an outer bracer, but for cabinets, this will probably be like the sidewalls of the cabinet or something along those lines. Now, like I said, very easy to get super consistent results on a CNC. Doing it on a different type of tool is a different story, and today we're going to attempt this on a table saw. I have a pile of junk here, and this pile of junk are some of the more common materials we might use in a van. So we've got pre-finished maple, our most common material. There's some Baltic birch, black hex, and bamboo. Now, I'm not going to cut all of them today. I'm just going to really work on the bamboo here, but I want to explain the fundamental differences behind these different materials. So the maple and the birch, let's start there. Those are woods. They are veneer plywoods. If you look at this, there is a plywood core of different plies pressed in different directions, and then there's a veneer on the outside. Now, veneer is like your outer skin. The veneer will bend very well. This is natural wood veneer. It's going to bend. It comes in a big roll before they put it on to the core itself. So that right there is the jackpot. Now, the stuff on the inside may not bend, and oftentimes the plywood isn't just pure plywood the whole way through. So a lot of the times it's actually MDF closer to the veneer, because the veneer will glue better to MDF. And let me tell you something about MDF, it doesn't bend very well. So as far as the materials go for ease of bending, the easiest one for you is going to be maple, like a veneer maple, unfinished, pre-finished. And then there's birch, which is also very bendable, but the actual grain on birch, we'll get into grain here in a little second, is a little crazier and might be a little bit more problematic. So maple, most stable grain, easiest to bend. Birch, a little bit harder. Ooh, excuse me. Jesus. All right. Bamboo's the next one in line. This one's a little trickier because bamboo is not quite like a veneer like maple or birch. It's actually just a bunch of different pieces of compressed bamboo glued together. So it's going to be challenging to bend this, but we're going to attempt it today anyway. And then the last one is this black hex ply, and this will actually count for any of your formicas, your laminates, your I forget the name of them, but just about any kind of color that is glued on to a plywood core that is not a natural wood veneer. These will not bend. So before you go crazy planning your project to bend a bunch of laminates or formica or black hex, I'm just going to tell you right now, it's not going to work. They're going to crack. These things are under a little bit of stress when they bend, and that stress is going to split right away. So this guy, get it out of here. You're not going to need it. And without further ado, let's talk a little bit more about grain. The next important thing when kerfing is knowing the grain direction and why that's important. So I've got my piece of bamboo. I ripped it in half here, And I've got my grain going vertically on one side and horizontally on the other side. Why does this matter? Well, no matter what material you're cutting, let me just set this down. If you're gonna be bending this panel this way, hopefully that makes sense, it's gonna bend just fine because the grain is going perpendicular to your bend. Now, if you flip this and you start kerfing to bend it this way, well, it's just going to split at any of these horizontal grain breaks. So make sure that if you're kerfing, orient your material properly. You always want your kerf cuts to go perpendicular to the grain. And today, just for shits and giggles, I'm gonna do both and show you what happens. All right, so the next part of this is actually setting the height of your saw blade, which is gonna be challenging, and more than likely it's gonna take a little bit of experimenting. Excuse my saw, she likes to complain to being punished all day. So that's probably a little too close for comfort. We're gonna drop it just a little bit. And remember, the tip of the teeth are highest at their apex. So I think right there should be good. All right, so we're gonna flip this guy. I'm gonna take note of exactly where the actual position is. Put it like on an even number on your saw guide. And I think for the sake of this experiment, because my blade is 1/8 inch thick, I'm going to cut every 3/8 of an inch. So I've got a little bit of wood in between those kerfs. Let's do this thing. Okay, well gosh, I've done quite a few kerf cuts here. And I mentioned in the beginning, bamboo's a little tricky. Probably should have checked the height before, but I did actually put some pretty good cuts in here. I'm a little scared to manipulate it too much, but you can see I'm already bending both inside and out. Here's this for you, bam, bam, bam. But it's super stiff, which is not a great sign. If you're doing a kerf cut for an upper cabinet that you want to bend to like 90 degrees or something close to that, you're gonna want a lot more flexibility than this. So I know from my own experience, if I attempt to bend this the way I really want to, one of two things is going to happen. It's going to break or it's going to break. Either solution is not really good for me. One little pro tip though, if your kerfs, you've gone through, you spent hours kerfing and it's just a little bit too stiff, it's not quite where you want it, an easy trick is actually put water into the exposed cuts on here. You can use that to soften up the wood to bend it, and then once you shoot in place, that water will evaporate and then the actual assembly will harden in place. But I think just for fun, we're going to try to see how far we can bend this thing before catastrophe strikes. Oh my God, this is nerve-wracking. I don't like this. Okay, come on in a little closer. I want to show you something. So from the side here, I can pretty much just get it up until these close up all the way. So actually, believe it or not, this is doing pretty well. This bamboo's strong as heck. Goodness gracious, look at that. That's beautiful. But you know what I'm going to do now is I will actually raise the height of our blade a little bit. And I'm going to do another row of kerf cuts, and we'll see if that's a little bit easier. Woo-hoo! Cutting that thing real close, dude. Okay. Okay, I've just done the exact same number of cuts, exact same spacing, but a little bit deeper. And already the results are stunning, ladies and gentlemen. Look at that. Oh my God. Let's turn you this way. Man, okay, come in here real close. I want to show you. I may have pushed this a little too close. That skin is like a 1/16 thick. So it makes me a little bit nervous. But bam, I think like 2 more kerf cuts in that bad boy. And we've got ourselves a 90-degree bend. Now, one downside of cutting so close is you can actually see the lines of these kerfs right here, which isn't ideal. But one really cool thing to note is that you can use this same method to bend both in and out, although out sounds a little bit sketchier, if you ask me. That did not go according to plan. Okay, all right, well, this is trash now. But you know what? It happens. So I guess lowering the blade a little bit more might take us a step further. But one thing I want to know. So let me pull you in a little closer to this piece here. This 1/8 inch spacing is substantially thinner than what you guys see in our stuff. Now we do a little bit of thicker spacing. A little pro tip, if you want to put a little less stress on these edges, kind of where mine just snapped pretty easily there, you can actually, instead of moving 3/8 right away, just move over another 1/8 inch and double the width of that cutout to around 1/4 inch, and that's going to help you a lot. So now that we got that out of the way and we know how to curve cut, and now you've made this cool little fidget toy for all of you hyperactive folks out there, I want to show you what it looks like when you curve cut the other way, perpendicular to the grain, and show you how long that stands up to some punishment. I'm like pretty sketched out to handle this, so I've got my kerfs going parallel with my grain, and that's it. That's all you're gonna get. Like I mentioned before, if it's going parallel to the grain, this thing's just gonna fall apart. There's just no benefit, there's no purpose to doing that. One thing important to note here, that's gonna happen no matter what material you use. It's not just bamboo. If you do that with maple, it's gonna break right there too. Oh my God, I should have put on a mask. Excuse me. Anyway, I hope that makes a little bit more sense. Let me dive a little bit into structure, fastening, and how to keep these things from breaking in the future. Now, when you're done kerfing, you might notice your material feels a little flimsy, a little weak. That's normal. Don't panic. It's all good. There's ways to brace this, 2 ways in general. So if you have a kerf cut corner where the inside is going to be the pretty visible side, where you're going to brace from the outside, and that's really easy to do. You just make a template or an outer structure, outer frame, however you need to, and you can just shoot screws right through your bracing piece into the plywood before the kerf cut. You don't want to shoot in the middle of your kerf. Let that thing rest. It's all good. Just shoot in from the outside. That kind of covers exterior mounting. Now, if you're doing the other way around, where the outside is going to be visible, not the inside, let me bring you on in here. We do something called pocket holes here. If you get a tool by Kreg, K-R-E-G-G, it's called a Kreg pocket hole tool. You can get a manual one where you just drill with a hand drill, or you can get a machine like ours where you just pull a lever if you're nice and lazy. And bring it in a little closer. Let me show you this in here. These are pocket holes from the inside. So our side caps of the cabinet actually act as bracers to hold this together. Now, our kerfs are covered because we're magicians and we can actually kerf cut and bend our 1/4 inch caps for these, but the actual function, the way it works, the mechanism is exactly the same. Common questions you might be thinking is, hey, can I pour glue or expanding foam into those kerfs to make it a little stronger? Sure, you can, although we haven't seen that much benefit from it. We have hundreds of these rounded cabinets out on the road, and in all of our history of putting these things together in this way, we've only ever had one come back with a crack that we replace right away. So the strength of these is pretty damn good. It depends really what material you use and how close you cut those curves to the edge. But overall, if you use one of these 2 bracing methods, you should be good to go. That just about wraps up this video for kerf cutting. Now, I thought the Dmitriy attempt series would be a little bit more chaotic, but granted, kerfing is not as hard as it seems. It's a lot easier than it looks, and at the end of the day, anybody with a table saw, jigsaw, or a router can probably do the same thing, especially if you've got more than 3 brain cells like me. Now, if you have something that you're interested in seeing me attempt, please leave it in the comments below, and I'll take a crack at it. Cheers, and happy building.